With summer coming up, we're entering my favorite season of all, margarita season. I love a classic, refreshing margarita on a hot summer's day to enjoy at barbecues, picnics, and on weekend getaways. For the perfect marg, I use Jose Cuervo, the world's #1 tequila brand. A big thank you to Jose Cuervo for continuing to support the pod and helping us produce content for all of you. Time to embrace margarita season with Jose Cuervo, and remember to drink responsibly. In June 2012, Russ Yusupov, Dom Hoffman, and Colin Kroll launched a platform that would change the future of the creator economy. Russ, Dom, and Colin were tech professionals working together in New York City at the travel site Jetsetter when they came up with an idea to create a video editing tool in app form. But after a successful trial with a small group of users, the founders decided to add a social component to the platform as well. That platform was called Vine. Upon its launch, Vine was positioned as a social video platform where users could record, edit, and upload clips of their intimate moments with friends and family for public consumption. Where Instagram was for static images and YouTube was for long-form video, Vine filled a gap in the digital entertainment space for short-form video that prioritized user retention with snappy 6-second videos. By 2013, Vine had been acquired by Twitter and became the most downloaded free app on iOS. But despite its wild success out the gate, Vine would shutter just 4.5 years after its launch, giving the tech industry one of its biggest lessons to date. No amount of users can save a platform that is losing its biggest creators and, as a result, decreasing in cultural relevance. From Centennial World, I'm Lauren Meisner, and this is Infinite Scroll, a podcast about internet culture, the creator economy, and how social media is shaping Gen Z. Welcome back to Infinite Scroll, everyone, and thank you so much to Jose Cuervo for sponsoring the next several episodes of Infinite Scroll. This is really exciting. This is a long-term partnership that we have going with them leading up to Australian summer, so I'm very excited to be bringing you guys these episodes brought to you by Jose Cuervo. So as always, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Please sign up to our newsletter, which is also called Infinite Scroll. On Fridays, we round up the 5 biggest think pieces on the internet from that week. And I have one review to read for you guys from Apple. I need to get these Apple reviews in before I lose access to the international Apple reviews. I was saying before in, I think maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, that Chartable, which is where I see all of the Apple reviews from around the world. It is closing in December. So if you guys are not in Australia and you leave us an Apple review, I actually don't think I'll be able to see it unless you guys have another platform recommendation for me. Please let me know. But yes, this one is from New Zealand. It is by Georgia Grace AW, and she writes, "Love this podcast, love the almost daily mini ep format. You keep me informed and I really trust your opinions and reporting. Thank you so much." So for today's episode, I'm really excited to be bringing you guys the rise and fall of Vine, how a broken relationship with creators sealed the platform's fate. From eyebrows on fleek to look at all those chickens, Vine produced some of the most quotable content in internet history. While Vine has had its chokehold on millennials and Gen Z for years, with many of us continuing to quote famous clips, its trajectory was unlike many other social media platforms. After launching in 2012, it closed 5 years later, after a rapid decline in the cultural zeitgeist. Vine was founded by 3 tech entrepreneurs, Russ Yusupov, Dom Hoffman, and Colin Kroll, in June 2012. While Vine might now feel basic, it was actually groundbreaking for its time because it made short-form content accessible and mainstream. But for those of us who aren't exactly familiar with Vine, the platform was known for its 6-second clips that would play on loop. Users could easily create, watch, and share these videos through their feeds. The decision to make each Vine video 6 seconds long was actually a strategic one. At the time, long before TikTok dominated culture, videos on smartphones were still a new and foreign thing. This was back when phone plans had strict data limits. So people were worried about using it all up. Vine's 6-second cap struck the perfect balance, getting users hooked on bite-sized stories while easing concerns about data usage. The looping feature was also key to Vine's success. As co-founder Hoffman explained to The New Yorker in 2013, it was integral to the platform's format. Quote, "It just has to do with the nature of the medium. Since it is so short, at 6 seconds or less, it feels very incomplete if it doesn't loop," the founder explained. "I think when people remember things in the past, they view those things on repeat." While Vine would become known for its comedic content, this wasn't what the platform was intended for. As contributing editor Casey Newton explains for The Verge, quote, "Its founders had envisioned their tool for making 6-second clips as a way to help people capture casual moments in their lives and share them with friends." According to an article from The New Yorker, Hoffman, in a blog post introducing the platform, likened posts on Vine to abbreviations, saying to treat the content on the platform as, quote, "little windows into the people, settings, ideas, and objects that make up your life." Soon, however, it became clear that Vine would never be exactly what the founders intended. Newton for The Verge recalls that Hoffman said that the founders could tell early on that the app's culture would be one of experimentation. Quote, "It became very clear as soon after we launched, watching the community and the tool push on each other was exciting and unreal, and almost immediately it became clear that Vine's culture was going to shift towards creativity and experimentation," Hoffman tells Newton. With that being said, the power of Vine was obvious from the early days on the platform, so much so that Twitter acquired the platform in 2012. Twitter made the decision to purchase the platform for $30 million in October of that year. At the time, Vine was only a 3-person company and hadn't even launched to the public yet. According to the New York Times reporting, Twitter's co-founder Jack Dorsey pushed for the deal, believing that Vine was, quote, "the next big thing in social media, essentially an Instagram with video." It was a couple months earlier that Facebook acquired Instagram, with Mark Zuckerberg making a bid to buy the platform in April 2012. With another text-based social media platform embracing a visual platform like Instagram, it was only natural for a competitor like Twitter to follow suit. And Dorsey's bet on Vine paid off, but only for a little while. 6 months after its official iOS launch in January 2013, Vine had attracted 13 million regular users. 3 months later, that number tripled, according to Mike Isaac of The New York Times. Quote, "Brian Hobart, an analyst at 7 Park Data, estimated that at the height of Vine's popularity, roughly 3.64% of Android smartphone users in the United States used Vine at least once a month," the journalist continued. That may not sound like much, but for a company that had barely existed a year earlier, it was enormous. Many journalists and pundits would go on to credit Vine's success to the introduction of front-facing camera videos, which let users record themselves, not just their surroundings, giving the platform a whole new level of engagement. They also tend to agree that Vine reached its peak in 2014, which unfortunately also marked the beginning of the end for the platform. The New Yorker journalist Tad Friend would even position Vine as one of the few platforms that was actively challenging YouTube during this period. Quote, "Nowadays, YouTube is almost alarmingly professional. It has millions of channels devoted to personalities and products, which are often aggregated into verticals containing similar content. But YouTube's primacy as the place teenagers go after school is already being challenged, especially by Vine, an app of looping 6-second videos that launched last year," Friend writes in 2014. Vine became a kind of mobile, social MTV with a soundtrack of hits to rock out to or mock, and with kids as the stars. Vine's cultural impact was clear. While Twitter never exactly revealed how many people used Vine, it claimed the platform once had an audience of 200 million on the web, as reported by Casey Newton for The Verge. A major factor behind Vine's success was the creator ecosystem it cultivated. Vine developed its own class of creators, many with millions of followers, whose content regularly racked up tens of millions of views. Unsurprisingly, these creators became central to the platform's appeal. To truly grasp Vine's culture, its creators, and the content that did well on the app, it's worth taking a walk down memory lane to revisit some of its top influencers. This definitely won't be an exhaustive list, but it will capture the essence of what made Vine so unique. Now, if you were a teenage girl on Vine, chances are you are familiar with Magcon. An acronym for Meet and Greet Convention, Magcon started as just that, a convention. But it quickly spiraled into something with long-lasting cultural appeal. The convention started in 2013 as a way for social media users to meet their favorite Vine stars. Among them were creators Nash Greer, Aaron Carpenter, Cameron Dallas, Taylor Caniff, Jack Galinsky, Jack Johnson, Carter Reynolds, Matthew Espinosa, and Shawn Mendes. Yes, that Shawn Mendes. Soon, this group of boys, alongside Mahogany Locks, would become known as a creator collective, Magcon. While Magcon has evolved over the years with new members, the original lineup remains the most iconic. The convention was founded by Bart Bordelin. According to various reports, Bart came up with the idea after Vine star Aaron Carpenter held a meet and greet that drew over 200 people. Magcon followed a similar path, with fans of popular Vine stars gathering at shopping centers and hotels across the United States. Eventually, Magcon even made its way to Australia and Europe. The group became so popular that Netflix released Chasing Cameron in 2016, a documentary that focused on Cameron Dallas and his experiences with viral fame as one of the most prolific Magcon boys. A Magcon show was reminiscent of the content these Viners shared on the platform, though much of the 6-second videos didn't always translate that well to the stage. Still, attendees watched the boys lip sync and dance to pop songs with plenty of thirst traps. Some of the boys even ended up shirtless, which was kind of insane because they were all basically between the ages of 16 and 20. That being said, the Magcon boys initially went viral for their comedic content, but as their show suggests, they were also known for their thirst traps, many of which involved lip syncing or dancing to the infamous Grind on Me song. We can't talk about Magcon without acknowledging that some of the boys and their content promoted problematic rhetoric about women. To be fair, many of them were teenagers, but spreading negative messaging about women on such a massive platform was upsetting and harmful for many of their followers. One notable example is the video What Guys Look For in Girls, featuring Nash, Cameron, and YouTuber JC Kalen. The video, unsurprisingly, was controversial, with the boys essentially listing off quote-unquote requirements for women. Nash received the most backlash for comments like insisting girls shave their armpits and any peach fuzz, while ironically pushing for the natural look. In the video, he would even call women whores if they made things too easy for men. The video has since been deleted. Another troubling instance involved Jack Galinsky, who gained popularity on Vine alongside his childhood friend Jack Johnson. Jack Galinsky would go on to date Madison Beer for about 2 to 3 years, breaking up in 2017. Their relationship was widely shipped by social media users, but it also drew criticism due to their age gap. Madison was 15 and Jack was 18 when they first started dating. After their breakup, an audio clip capturing Jack Galinsky verbally abusing Madison was leaked to the public. In a since-deleted Twitter post, Jack confirmed that the audio was real and had been recorded a year before it was leaked. He apologized, stating he was in a, quote, very dark place at the time. Ultimately, it's clear that many of the Magcon group gained their popularity largely due to their privilege and appearance. While content standards were different back then, it's fair to say that much of what they were producing wasn't exactly high-quality content. That being said, many of the Magcon boys struggled to turn their Vine fame into long-lasting careers. Jack Galinsky and Jack Johnson, for instance, formed the music duo Jack and Jack, while Cameron Dallas made a brief move to Broadway, starring as Aaron Samuels in Mean Girls, alongside Renee Rapp. Despite these efforts, sustaining success off the platform proved challenging for many of the Magcon boys. While Magcon dominated a significant corner of Vine, other popular creators made their mark too. Take King Batch, for example. For a long time, he was the app's most followed person, surpassing Nash Greer in March 2015 when he hit 11.3 million followers. He also lived in 1600 Vine for a time, the apartment complex that sat at the heart of the Vine world. Essentially, many of the platform's top creators lived in the complex and made content, sort of like a content house before a content house. Quote, the apartment complex became the nexus of the Vine world. By mid-2015, nearly 20 of the app's biggest creators lived in the complex, Taylor Lorenz reports for the Washington Post. Unlike many Magcon members whose content focused on pranks or jump scares, Batch's Vines were mostly scripted skits that he wrote, directed, and edited. He would even go on to make Vines with Justin Bieber. While it may have been a product of its time, much of his humor was edgy and, at times, problematic. He ultimately ended up facing intense backlash by Twitter users in 2020, with many finding fault with the way he tended to rely on Black stereotypes for comedic value. Since his Vine days, Batch has pivoted towards more mainstream Hollywood, starring in various comedy roles in film and TV. Meanwhile, Lily Pons was one of the most popular female Viners. In 2014, Lily became the first person to reach 1 billion loops on the platform and is credited with popularizing the phrase, "do it for the Vine." She also had a very public-facing falling out with fellow Vine star Amanda Kearney after Amanda accused Lily of sabotaging her social media presence by deleting her popular posts. But of course, when she started on the platform, people were drawn to Lily because of her relatable content. Quote, her first Vines were about how she was doing poorly in school, how she would cut corners to do something, or how she was not seen as the popular girl. Her father thought her work was brilliant and an extension of the kind of drawings he used to make to tell her a story when she was little. She was making at least 1, sometimes 2 Vines a day, Sarah Ellison reports for The Washington Post. Much of her Vine content was classic, relying on silly faces and sound effects for comedic value. She created videos that explored everything from how girls react to seeing a hot boy to the struggles of waking up for school in the morning. Since then, Lily has shifted her focus to platforms like YouTube and Instagram and even appeared on Dancing with the Stars. However, one of her most viral moments post-Vine was when she was accused of lying about donating her hair. It began when she posted a now-deleted Instagram photo of herself with a new cropped hairstyle, while her friend held up what appeared to be a long blonde ponytail. Followers quickly noted that something felt off. Upon closer inspection, the ponytail was clearly hair extensions. A few days later, Lily addressed the controversy on Twitter, explaining that she had intended to donate her hair, but couldn't because it had been colored. Brittany Ferlin was another Vine success story. After struggling to break into mainstream Hollywood, she started making content on Vine, where she quickly gained a following for her skits and characters, including Natalie Nature, The Beekeeper, and Martha. Like many other Viners, this success soon turned into a full-time job for her. However, as time went on, social media celebrity began to take its toll. Quote, I left Vine because it became more toxic for me than positive, Ferlin told E! In a 2019 episode of E! True Hollywood Story. Now, she is perhaps most well known for her marriage to Tommy Lee of Motley Crue and the ex-husband of Pamela Anderson. While many Vine stars are most famous for their time on the platform, several have successfully pivoted to other careers. The Paul brothers are a prime example. Although they shouldn't be seen as the blueprint for anyone, it's often forgotten that both Logan and Jake started as Viners before moving to YouTube and, more recently, professional boxing. They began posting on Vine in 2013, quickly amassing fans that evidently followed them across platforms. David Dobrik is another creator who began on Vine. While he wasn't the most popular on the platform, he would go on to collaborate with other notable Viners like Gabby Hanna, Jason Nash, and Liza Koshy, all of whom also broke out of the Vine bubble in one way or another. One aspect of Vine that undoubtedly shaped David's career trajectory is its quick-paced format. The Vlog Squad content at its peak mirrored Vine's style, with each clip being short, where David's videos often clocked in at 4 minutes and 20 seconds. While Vine became a stepping stone for many creators to move on to other opportunities, Vine itself was in shambles. Much has been said about the fall of Vine, with many commentators and experts putting it down to the lack of monetization strategies on the platform. However, another important, yet often overlooked aspect was how the platform treated creators. As Vine's management failed to take the concerns of these influencers seriously, this encouraged many of Vine's top creators to deprioritize Vine or move platforms, ultimately decreasing its cultural influence. The problems began to unfold as early as June 2013, when Instagram introduced video features that extended beyond Vine's 6-second limit. Surprisingly, the 8-second format made a significant difference in building narratives and storylines. While Vine content often lacked the hallmarks of powerful storytelling, relying instead on absurdity, pranks, and sound bites, the increased video length allowed for greater creativity and flexibility for creators on Instagram. Since Vine's demise, we've seen video-based social media platforms significantly expand their content time limits. TikTok, for instance, now allows videos up to 30 minutes, epitomizing just how much the landscape has evolved. Quote, former executives say that a major competitive challenge emerged in the form of Instagram, Casey Newton reports for The Verge. Instagram courted celebrities with longer videos, eventually bumping the limit up to a more flexible 60 seconds. Vines didn't break the 6-second barrier until 2016. On top of this, Vine faced ongoing monetization issues. A significant part of this stemmed from its user base, which was predominantly young and lacked substantial spending power. However, there were deeper problems within the platform's infrastructure. Vine never implemented anything like TikTok's Creator Fund or YouTube's AdSense, meaning creators couldn't monetize their presence on the platform without securing brand deals. This not only hindered creators' potential earnings, but also posed challenges for brands, as they couldn't purchase ad space on the platform and had to rely on organic growth or traffic generated by creators. As Newton adds for The Verge, when marketers started moving away from the platform to its competitors, especially with functions like the Instagram Explore page, which made discoverability easier than ever before, it only became a matter of time before the influencers followed suit. Huaha Su shared a similar sentiment when reporting for The New Yorker. Quote, Twitter has also had a challenging time monetizing Vine's young, amateur user base. Similar video sharing applications, especially Instagram and Snapchat, have been much shrewder at forging alliances with corporations and advertisers. Vine's monetization issues and growing competition from other platforms were compounded by its internal instability. In 2014, for example, Dan Hoffman, one of Vine's co-founders, stepped down from his role as general manager. Although his departure wasn't heavily discussed at the time, Hoffman decided to step back to focus on another startup. This shift in leadership contributed to Vine's struggles, as the platform lacked the stable guidance needed to adapt to its rapidly evolving landscape. That being said, Mike Isaac, in his reporting for The New York Times, noted that this was a, quote, significant blow for the company. According to 3 employee interviews, quote, Mr. Hoffman had provided the initial vision for the company. The employees said he was less worried about corporate process and more worried about their product, Isaac explained. Vine then entered a phase of leadership turnover that further hindered its success. Co-founder Colin Kroll served as the general manager through 2014, but left later that year. By 2016, Twitter experienced a wave of executive departures, including another general manager of Vine, Jason Toff. 4 months later, Hannah Donovan, former co-founder of the now-defunct music service This Is My Jam, took over as the general manager. Of course, this constant change in leadership made it difficult for Vine to keep pace with some developments on competing platforms. Quote, leadership turnover, not surprisingly, slowed product development, 4 employees said, and Vine quickly fell behind the fresher features of its competitors, like some of Instagram's GIF-like animated photos and trademark filters. Isaac continues for The New York Times. The managerial chaos at Vine didn't just impact the platform's ability to innovate, it also damaged its relationship with creators. Reports over the years have described the dynamic between Vine's leadership and top influencers as ambivalent and even hostile. Taylor Lorenz of The Washington Post notes that the Vine's leading creators held significant sway over the type of content that thrived on the platform, largely due to its Revine feature, which acted as a repost button. By banding together and boosting each other's posts, these creators essentially controlled what went viral. This was particularly influential because this was before the era of widespread algorithm-driven feeds, where content is served based on personal preferences. Interestingly, Lorenz points out that some of Vine's management grew resentful towards the creators, feeling they had co-opted the platform and steered it in directions that clashed with the app's original vision. Quote, flare-ups between the company and its biggest creators were common, over even the smallest features. For instance, when Vine introduced web profiles and vanity URLs, short, easy-to-remember links that allowed users to share their Vine profiles outside the app, top Viners said they received no advance notice of the feature's rollout, the journalist continues. Things took a turn for the worse when creators began suspecting that management was deliberately preventing certain content from going viral. Reportedly, this wasn't just paranoia. According to Lorenz, quote, the co-founders were curating what trended on the site. This kind of control over what gained traction frustrated many top creators, who felt their content was being limited, ultimately fueling tension between them and Vine's leadership. Quote, this monopoly in Vine's eyes was especially problematic because the content produced at 1600 Vine was not what the company wanted to promote. The Viners' jokes were often juvenile at best and frequently misogynistic, homophobic, or racist, she continues. Vine did try to salvage its relationship with creators, but by then, it was too late. The top Viners could easily take their audiences to other platforms that not only valued their content, but also offered monetization opportunities. On October 27, 27th, 2016, Twitter announced that it was shutting Vine down, and the platform was officially discontinued in January 2017. Quote, "In the end, Vine proved too expensive to keep running," Isaac adds for the New York Times. The app was costing about $10 million a month for infrastructure and employees, according to two former employees. When Twitter began to take stock of its business and decided which assets to trim down, Vine was at the top of the list. Nearly 8 years since it was officially discontinued, short-form video is more relevant than ever, proving that Vine was truly ahead of its time. Vine's impact on the online entertainment landscape is undeniable. The service introduced millennials and Gen Z to the art of short-form video and a host of early digital creators, many of whom are still relevant today. But after only a few short years at the top, Vine's inability to monetize its platform and prioritize creator growth would be its downfall. Vine's failure taught the industry a valuable lesson in prioritizing creator happiness and financial stability. Following Vine's demise, existing platforms like Instagram and YouTube put more protections in place to serve creators, such as monetization and stronger discoverability features, while new platforms like TikTok implemented creator funding programs and support almost from the jump. These features are imperative to the success of every social media platform we know today. And even more importantly, they are imperative to the success of the creator economy at large. And perhaps, despite all the takeaways from Vine's steep rise and fall, that one lesson will be Vine's legacy for decades to come. Infinite Scroll is a podcast produced, presented, and co-written by me, Lauren Meisner, for Centennial World. This episode was researched and written by Annabelle Ben-David. Editing is by Danny Fennick. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.